Hi guys, it's Matt here from PilotPracticeExams.com, where you can pass in half the time. So a quick video on the importance of revision after you pass and how you should revise, because it's very different to how you do your study in the first place. So the reason I wanted to put this video together is, as you can see up here in the top two lines, the worst thing you can do after you finish is stop studying. Now, the reason for that is quite obvious. I mean, obviously you're going to forget. But you, in fact, just after you pass, become around about 40 hours. You start to become one of the most dangerous pilots there are out there. Now, the reason is that it's a simple bit of a crossover of the curves, a bit like the the drag for induced and parasitic drag. What happens is, as your confidence starts to go up, your knowledge and learning and all that study that you did starts to deteriorate quite rapidly. And if you don't keep studying, it just falls off a cliff basically, and you become one of these people that they refer to in these two books here. So there's the killing zone, which basically quotes the 40 to 250 hours, very famous book in aviation circles. And there's this other one, the thinking pilots, how to survive flying little aeroplanes. So after you pass, let's look at the strategy and how it's different. So the strategy is called spacing. So what we're going to do when we're trying to get you through your exams, we deliberately compress our study. We basically cram lots and lots and lots of sessions into a few weeks or a month or 6 weeks, depending on which exam you're doing. But what we do is we try and space those out during the day. But when we want to revise, what we actually want to do is trick your mind into slightly forgetting, not totally forgetting. So you want to slightly forget each concept, and that takes around about, depending on you, but around about, say, 14 to 21 days max. Okay, that's the max. So around about, say, 7 to 10 days minimum. And then what you want to do is you come back and you do your practice exams to find where your knowledge gaps are. You go back to the index of the text, then you go to the contents of the text, and then you brush over and skim over that. There'll be no need to read it in detail, except for some areas. And then what happens is you start to get reminded and you go, I remember that. Now that's called an aha moment. And when we do that, when we have those mini moments of forgetfulness followed by aha moments around about 7 to 10 days up to 14 to 21 days later, we tend to commit things to long-term memory very, very well. So what you want to do, the worst thing you can do here is space too long. A space in your spacing is terrible. Okay, so you want to get reminded between the minimum 7 to 10 days, maximum 14 to 21 days. Now, this isn't my science, okay? There's a lot of theory out there. This particular one that I've referred to for this is Cornell in the Applied Cognitive Psychology Journal. Now, there's a bunch of other ones. So let's just have a look at another concept that you should be aware of. And even if you haven't yet sat your exams, it's good to learn this and know this. And this is why I give 12 months access for pilot practice exams, because I know the value of the education that you need to do after you pass. Okay, so it's critical that you use that 12-month membership and keep using it even well after you pass. And that's also why I offer the discounted renewal. Okay, so here we go. So let's have a quick look at this. When you're spacing, the opposite is true to your chunking. Now remember I told you for when you're chunking down for your exams in the 5-day challenge, okay, in those videos, what you want to do is you want to study related topics in chunks. Well, when you're doing spacing, you actually want to study varied topics. So for example, if you're a PPL pilot, you might come in and do one MET exam, one loading and performance exam, and one other exam. Okay, do 3 different topics. We actually want to do that for a good reason. One, it allows you to have cover more bases, so you've got less gaps. 2, it allows you to have more aha moments. Okay, if you rush in and you just restudy one topic, then what you're going to do is you're going to have more gaps and less aha moments. Okay, and the other thing that it does, is it allows you to see the big picture. So this, when we were cramming, we were so busy studying that sometimes we got through our exam, but we didn't sit back and look at the whole big picture. Whereas when you come in and you study, say, 3 or 4 exams, and then you just go and do a little bit of revision, and you do them across a wide variety of topics, what happens is we suddenly start to build our knowledge of how this all relates. So you might be doing, like, for example, loading charts, and you suddenly realise the importance of fuel in the loading charts, and the way that, as fuel goes down, that affects your loading charts and things like that. So whereas when you're just trying to get through the exam, maybe you were just focused on the maths and the formula. So the other thing with all of this is you want to test yourself. It was found to be by far the best way of doing revision. Okay, now when you combine the methods that I've shown you, for example up here, the memory techniques and the visualization and the saying it out loud, with the testing and with varied topics, and also with that the spacing out, so that the 7 to 10, 14 to 21 days, then you're going to get very powerful revision. So that's it, guys. That's what you need to do. I've told you why it's important. You don't want to become one of these. Just understand this, guys. You will, at 40 to 250 hours, if you don't study and you don't revise, you will become a very dangerous pilot. Now, that's a concern to you, but it's also a concern for your loved ones. They're the ones going to be left behind. And it's a huge concern if you're taking people up with you, or if you're flying in busy airspace where other pilots, you're putting them at risk.